and our topic today is consensual non-monogamy and increased relationship satisfaction and happiness. So the topic that I'm going to speak on today can introduce some bias, and not everyone's going to feel like this relationship style is right for them. And I hope to highlight quickly what consensual non-monogamy is before I get into the research. So what we mean by consensual non-monogamy, or CNM for short, is any consensual relationship that is outside of a dyad or a couple. And as you learn more about how happiness relates to consensual non-monogamy, I'm going to ask that you understand that infidelity is a dishonest practice. It is not a consensual practice. So cheating on your partner is not consensual non-monogamy. And while non-monogamy has traditionally has been seen as while monogamy has been traditionally seen as a standard for romantic relationships, consensual non-monogamy practices are gaining visibility and acceptance across different cultures and in different countries, and can be seen practiced in different ways all over the world. In the past 10 years, there has been an uptrend in consensual non-monogamy research. However, research in the specific area of happiness and relationship satisfaction is limited to kind of in the Western world. And today I'm going to be using three different articles to demonstrate how consensual non-monogamy can actually enhance happiness and relationship satisfaction. And that's going to be by the means of fostering benefits such as having multiple partners, the increased levels of communication, deeper intimacy, and the stronger family dynamics that occur in consensual non-monogamy relationships. So upon pondering this, I used the question I posed in class, and that's that do individuals practicing consensual non-monogamy report higher levels of relationship satisfaction and higher happiness compared to those in monogamous relationships? And we'll kind of break that down a little bit more by talking about how multiple partnerships contribute to individual well-being and in what ways consensual non-monogamy can influence communication and intimacy among partners, and also what impact consensual non-monogamy has on the dynamics of a family unit. So the first article that I came across was an article from a Canadian journal on family, and this is about consensual non-monogamy and relationship satisfaction. This article, it features a review of literature on consensual non-monogamy and relationship satisfaction. There was no actual research experimentation or anything like that. However, the research did find that individuals practicing consensual non-monogamy often do report equal or even higher relationship satisfaction as compared to those in monogamous relationships. And one of the key factors contributing to the satisfaction was the enhanced communication skills and participants being more likely to establish clear boundaries, maintain open, honest dialogue with their partners. And this level of negotiated understanding can strengthen relationship bonds, making for more feelings of satisfaction and happiness within the non-monogamous relationship. The second study was actually a study, and this one is comparing self-reported health, happiness, and marital happiness of a multinational sample of consensually non-monogamous adults with those of the U.S. general population. So what we're comparing are people from different nations around the world to the U.S. general population. The findings in this did reveal that consensually non-monogamous individuals report similar or higher levels of happiness and marital satisfaction than the general population of the United States. Multiple partnerships are linked to an increased sexual satisfaction and a sense of well-being as well. And this suggests that having multiple partners in a consensual context can meet diverse emotional and physical needs and leads to greater relationship fulfillment. The third study that I looked at was unique and shared relationship benefits of consensually non-monogamous and monogamous relationships. And this study highlights the unique advantages of consensual non-monogamous relationships. And those kinds of advantages include personal growth, fulfillment of diverse needs, a greater variety in relationships. And interestingly, both consensually non-monogamous and monogamous relationships share common benefits such as emotional support and companionship. And this finding rather reinforces the idea that relationship satisfaction and happiness depends on communication and shared values rather than a strict monogamous or a non-monogamous model. So I compared all three of these studies together, and when comparing these studies, a few patterns do stand out. They all indicate that consensual non-monogamy can offer equal and greater relationship satisfaction and happiness as compared to monogamy. When participating in non-monogamy, open, honest communication is beyond important. So, greater understanding of advanced communication and finding better outlets for dealing with things like jealousy can also help foster more mature, open relationships. And the research suggests that it isn't necessarily about the quantity of partners that increases the happiness, but rather the unique interpersonal relationship skills that one acquires when they are a part of the non-monogamy community. And there is a theory in relationship science that suggests that relationship satisfaction is positively correlated with novelty within the relationship, and non-monogamy actually fits this theory's parameters very, very well. However, there are some critiques on the research. So there are a lot of limitations, but firstly, sample diversity is often limited. Most of the studies in consensual non-monogamy in general predominantly are going to be featuring participants from Western cultures, and this may not actually reflect global perspectives on consensual non-monogamy. And additionally, the reliance on self-reported data introduces potential biases. Participants may portray their experiences more positively than it is in reality. And when subjects are self-reporting on their relationships, they also may report positive experiences, which can quickly change after the interview. And that negative experience may not make it to the researcher, and that could result in flawed data. We are also, as people, as subjects in general, not great at assessing how our happiness would be quantified on a measurement scale. And some of the implications are that these findings do challenge traditional views on monogamy, as they suggest that relationship satisfaction is more closely tied to quality of communication and mutual agreement rather than the relationship structure itself, suggesting that perhaps the advanced quality of communication skills does contribute to the happiness, and these types of communications are only had by people in consensual non-monogamy. Future research is just needed in general in consensual non-monogamy, but in this, I would say, cultural context and examining more long-term outcomes and providing a more comprehensive understanding of the impact of happiness on relationship satisfaction is going to be an emerging topic in consensual non-monogamy research. And in conclusion, consensual non-monogamous relationships can provide compelling evidence for increased happiness and relationship satisfaction. Key contributors include the improved communication, deeper intimacy, and the fulfillment of diverse personal needs. These findings actually challenge traditional views of monogamy by suggesting that the structure of a relationship is less important than the quality of communication and mutual understanding between partners. And looking ahead, the future research should examine consensual non-monogamy across different cultural contexts to provide a more global view. And these are my references. So thank you. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Looks like we have a couple of questions here in person.
Okay.
So just, speak up if you could so that Janet can hear.
I was just wondering what the methods were in these studies. I saw that you put in like the critiques that it was like self-reporting, but I didn't really understand what the methods were.
The methods were, so for the second and third article, the methods were all just kind of like survey questionnaires.
My question was, what was the population of the third article that they were measuring from?
I'm sorry, can you speak up just a bit?
What was the population of the people studied in the third article?
The 3,446. Sorry.
But from what country?
It was a multinational sample compared to the U.S. general population. So they took people from all over the world, and then they took a population from the United States and compared the two.
So I think actually the question may be about the third article that you reviewed, which may be the Moores.
Okay.
Colleague study, which I see is published in the European Psychologist. So I'm guessing maybe a European sample, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And it's a review study, right? So
yes. Yeah.
But is that indeed the case? European?
Yeah, it was European samples. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about the second one because that one was the one that had the big research experiment kind of in it.
Yeah, I think it was the third one that you asked about, right? Yeah, okay. So, cool. Any additional questions?
Yes, for like the multinational one, is that like then they ask people in non-monogamous relationships and then compare them to monogamous ones in the US, or was it like, I'm a little confused as to what the comparisons were.
So they did comparisons by gender, number of sexual partners, frequency of sex, marital status. The general U.S. population, there would have been monogamous couplings and non-monogamous couplings. There were some gender non-conforming people that were within the study. So it just really it didn't focus on like this chunk of people in this country, this chunk of people in this country that are like this, that are like that. It was just they got people together who were in relationships and broke them down into different categories based on the different parameters that I just listed out. It was actually really great.
Okay, thank you. And it looked like Anasia may have had a question as well.
Just out of pure curiosity, like, was there anything in your readings mentioning why some countries have more non-monogamy than others?
No. I think that the reason that most of the research comes from Western countries is because that's just where most of the researchers are located. And it's easier to kind of start where you live than to go out into other countries, because there are other cultural forms of non-monogamy that are not necessarily what you would think of in the United States. When you think about non-monogamy, you think about polyamory and open relationships and open marriages and swinging and things of that nature. And in other countries, you're going to see more about polygamy and men who take multiple wives only, women who take multiple husbands only. So getting into getting into those cultural, that's more like on an anthropology level and outside of relationship science. And my focus has kind of been on relationship science.
What's the difference between polyamory and polygamy?
Polygamy involves a marriage, and it is not legal in most of the world. And polyamory just involves feelings of emotional love and having a relationship, but it doesn't involve a legal binding marriage. It doesn't get the government involved.
Okay, thank you. And by the way, we did have a comment in the chat as well. Shawnee writes, I really enjoyed this, and I'm glad that this was spoken upon because it's been a trend, and a lot of people seem to think differently about monogamy, poly, and non-monogamy. So, all right.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Thanks for the presentation. Let's see. Okay, I believe we have at least one more